is the newly released limited edition Gibson SG Standard in Silverburst. Hey YouTube, it's Ashley Offset. So unfortunately, the Tom DeLonge Strat that was featured in last week's video has left us. Despite the appointments on that guitar and what they represented, and after much playing and getting accustomed to it, it just felt dead. Strings didn't ring out, it felt kind of clinky, and again, just like a dead sound. Funny enough, when we returned it to Guitar Center, they said about 3 or 4 other people had also returned the guitar for very similar reasons. But there was one girl named Miley who returned the guitar because her boyfriend cheated on her. And so when the guy behind the counter took the guitar from us, he was telling us that story. He took our return and he threw his fist up in the air and he was like, "Justice for Miley." And then all the other employees were like, "Justice for Miley." So with that being said, we're gonna take a look at another guitar. So this is the newly released Gibson SG Standard in Silverburst. It's a limited edition guitar. So the funny thing about this is I never really saw like a press release or any news or anything about these coming out. In fact, I originally thought that this was part of Gibson's new color series, but I wasn't really interested in those. And also I think that was only for Les Pauls. So kind of a really silent release on this limited edition guitar. And I don't think it's just a limited release for Guitar Center like they do sometimes, because it is available at a couple of other retailers online, although those retailers are lesser known, so I'm not really sure what the deal on that is. A super silent launch, I guess, for Gibson, unless you guys can fill me in on any news about this guitar. Now, notable specs on this one are the not so common, you see it, but it is in a Silverburst, and also it has an Ebony fingerboard. So those are the two qualities that make it kind of unique. And other than that, I think the rest of the specs on this guitar really mimic the SG Standard line. So I'm gonna keep my first impressions on this really simple and quick. First of all, holy wow, the neck profile on this thing is chunky. I think that most SG Standards have the rounded neck profile, but I am definitely not used to it. I have a 64 Custom Shop SG and it has a larger neck, but I would say this one rivals that one for sure. Comparing it to the slim taper necks, it's like night and day. You might as well call it a baseball bat. Very chunky, but very cool and very fun to play with that chunky neck. Now, this is my first guitar with an Ebony fingerboard, and I've got to say, my favorite fretboard till now has been a maple fingerboard, and I would say this closely aligns with that, much less porous than that of a rosewood fingerboard, and so it just feels really smooth and nice under your fingertips. And I want to give you a close-up of this finish. Now, some people may disagree with me, but I'm okay with the paint sinking into the pores of the wood. We have the silver doing that under this top coat, and it gives it a really awesome, almost checking-like or Murphy-esque look. It just adds to the dimension, and I think it's super cool. Now, this one does have 490R and 490T pickups, and it just blows my SG away just in terms of how much it bites. Not saying it's better or worse, but definitely if you're looking for really rock heavy and really just a hotter pickup, I would say that these definitely do the trick. If you've watched my videos for a little while, you might know that I've been looking to mimic the sound that I had in my Gibson SG Special Faded. It just had a really nice rock and roll bite to it, and I assumed that all SG sounded that way. That was just my beginner mistake. And I think I found something that comes pretty close to mimicking that sound. Now, lastly, you guys know that I'm a sucker for a case. The website said that this guitar came with a gig bag, which at this price point is a little bit of a bummer, but I was willing because I really like the specs on this guitar. The Ebony fingerboard and the Silverburst finish were really killer to me, and I was willing to accept a gig bag, but it came with what I would call a soft shell case. And that's what's advertised for the SG Standards now. And so I'm glad that this is actually a little more solid than a gig bag. Typically, I love a hard shell case and try to steer away from high dollar guitars that don't include one. I think I'm old-fashioned in that way, given the current state of things, but I'm really pleased with this. I think it looks really cool. So you have the neck support here, and so you have the Gibson closure here. Overall, just really solid. I love the padded handle on this. It is very large and just comfortable. In fact, I'm traveling tomorrow and I can't wait because this is so new to me just to take it out and travel with it. Has a really large and sturdy zip here. It also has rubber feet on the bottom, so you can actually, and I do this, lean it against the wall, and if it's on like a solid wood floor or something, you don't have to worry about it slipping over. If you turn it around to the back, you can see that it's just really reinforced. It has like a backpack style carrying method. I would prefer to carry it by the handle, I think, but overall just a really nice gig bag. All right, well, we can go ahead and plug it in and see how it sounds. Bridge. Well, I hope you could hear those bass sounds that I was talking about earlier, really through the demo. And don't call me crazy, and I didn't do this in the demo. When you put this in the bridge, you can really elicit some surf sounds. And I know that's not traditional for an SG to do, but truly when I put it in the bridge and use my Fender amp, I can get some really good twang, verging on surf, like the Ventures kind of tone. And so I'm really into that. Overall, it's just a guitar that I've woken up to the past several days, and I'm like, dang it, I love that guitar. Really sad about having to return that Tom DeLonge Strat. I do not like to make returns at all, but it didn't sound very good, and I was reassured by the fact that several other people had returned theirs as well. So with that being said, I'll just end it with a really big thank you to those who continue to watch the videos. I appreciate you more than you may know, and I'll see you in the next one. Distortion without doing anything else to the amp. That's from this.
It does.
And this is clean, but it's got distortion.